Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the second episode of She Leads, an absolutely pioneering concept which has been launched by Young Minds, YEN, and MetaConnect Consulting. This is such a beautiful initiative, I must say, because we're allowing our women achievers to share their, stories of struggle to success, and that's such an important thing in today's time to help our aspiring young women. So thank you so much for putting this together. I'll take 2 minutes to talk about myself. My name is Shikha Verma. I have been in the corporate space for almost 2 decades now, and I'm a doting daughter, a loving and affectionate mother and a wife, extremely passionate about what I do, and completely dedicated to well-being and happiness now for employees, students, and women. So that's a wee bit about me. Our today's speaker, she is an absolute inspiration, such a dynamic lady, and I was stumped when I read about her. She's an alumnus of Coimbatore Medical College. Being a frontier doctor, she has done some extensive work in the healthcare and well-being space as well. And today she dons many avatars. So she's an entrepreneur, a doctor, professional speaker, a TV host, TEDx speaker, a panelist, and a wellness expert. Wow. She's married to Colonel David Devashyam, founder and chairman of Radiant Group of Companies, and is currently the managing director of Radiant Medical Services, which is a vertical of Radiant Group of Companies. She's bagged several awards. She's been the Jaguar Woman Achiever Award in the field of wellness, India's Exceptional Speaker Award, and Black Swan Award for Women Empowerment, and has also recently, in 2019, been given the degree of Doctor of Humanity by the American University. It is an absolute delight to be in this conversation with you. Dr. Renuka David, an extremely warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Shikha. Thank you for this beautiful introduction. And I'm so honored and privileged to be here today. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I was finding it so interesting reading or knowing a little more about you. And I could see you've had such an adventurous childhood, being, born in a Air Force officer's family, nomadic childhood, traveling across, even as a frontier doctor, you've been posted at the border. What an adventurous life, I am sure there's a lot that we can learn from you, and I'd like you to share insights about you and your journey with our viewers today, please.
Um, well, Shikha, as you rightly said, yes, I'm Fauji's daughter. My father was in the Air Force, and therefore I got to travel across India. I did my schooling. I think I must have changed around 10 schools throughout my school life. So it's like crazy, and yeah, I've been it's been a very diversified childhood. I've got to kind of try, there. Okay. Can you see me? I'm sorry, Shikha. There's something coming on my system, but I think I will just.
Absolutely visible, Renuka. Dr. Renuka, you are absolutely visible.
I'm good.
I
Okay.
can,
So yeah.
I can.
Okay. So that's my childhood, and then after entering my medical school in Coimbatore College, I barely finished my college when I got married to. At that time, Captain David Devasahayam, and I got to, as an army officer's wife and as a doctor, I got to travel all across India. I've been in rural and tribal and urban India practicing there, and it's been an amazing journey. Then in 2005, my husband decided to take a voluntary come out of the services, start the Radiant Group of Companies, and then 2006 I started following my passion, which I guess was just wellness, preventive healthcare, healthy lifestyles, and I've been doing various dimensions of wellness right now, and it's been a wonderful journey, and continue to keep studying and growing, and just a work in progress.
So beautiful that is. I think well-being is the need of the hour, Dr. Renuka, and I can't agree with that more. That's apparently my passion too. That's why I've gotten into happiness and mindfulness as well. So, what is it that keeps you going? Is there a cause that you strongly feel for?
Well, Shikha, my sense of self esteem, purpose, and to give my best in everything. That's something which I've learned a lot about self esteem. Self esteem is probably, as we all know, how we think about ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, how good we are, how worthy we are. And no matter what setbacks we have in life, it's just about being yourself. So it's not necessarily about being perfect all the time or having exactly having the things the way you planned it to pan out to be. It's okay just to do your things and be able to accept everything about you, your strengths, your weaknesses. So that's something which I've been pursuing, about which I think today is so important, to also how to have a healthy self esteem. Keep challenging myself always. I mean, I do crazy things to step out of my comfort zone, be it, challenging myself to go into the most difficult ride in an amusement park. So this is something which I deliberately do, to always challenge myself to go out of that comfort zone. I try to, convert every situation, because being an army officer's wife and now an entrepreneur, so it is something which, there's so many challenges, so many situations which do not happen the way I would like it to happen, but then try to convert these situations into opportunities. And then my ability to learn something new every day. At home, we are five of us, and what we've done is we started something like infotainment. So there is information and entertainment every day in the evening. So we're giving responsibilities, and every day we have to talk for about half an hour. So we teach our
Wow.
family members something new. It could be anything. It could be history. It could be the current affairs. It could be medicine. But that it has to be new. It had to be full of information, and it has to be entertainment. So it's something that we aspire to learn new every day, and try not to lose, because I have this fear, of if I try something and if it doesn't work out. But then I guess I just review it and then try to say, okay, fine, just do it a little differently than what it was. So this is something I've faced in a lot of times in my life, this situation. Love life. I mean, just I live life to the fullest. And then you ask me, what is the cause? My cause is very simple. It is just to reach out and make a difference, because today in the COVID times, we've tried to do our best, whether providing food packages for the migrant workers, or be instrumental in flying some migrant workers from Bangalore to Guwahati, or providing PPEs, HPEs, or just giving a lot of talks and different platforms addressing mental health. So this is something which is my cause, Shikha.
Wow, Dr. Renuka, I can't agree with you more. I think the first point you made is something that is stuck in here, and I too strongly endorse it. When you mentioned about self-esteem or self-belief, most of the people, find it very difficult to accept themselves as a complete package. So, like you said, with your strengths and weaknesses, you've accepted yourself and you totally believe in yourself. I think that's really the start point of a great journey. And no great work is done till the time you do something that you really love, just the way Steve Jobs says. So I can distinctly see how passionate you are because of that cause. And that's where the journey is, I guess. So I have personally seen for myself, Dr. Renuka, that there are a lot of challenges, when women try to grow up the ladder or try to do something different, something offbeat. And you are today an entrepreneur as well. So being a qualified doctor and then traveling across and then, managing your studies, taking care of the family, children, and your growth as an individual, it's not easy. So all that magnanimity that you've got, I'm sure there's a lot of, a struggle that is behind it. So please, if you can share some of those challenges and how you overcame them, that'd be a great insight for our viewers today.
Well, Shikha, as I had mentioned, barely out of college, I got married to, at that time, Captain David Devasayam. So, I thought I was quite qualified. I was a doctor. I had, topped my class. And it so happened that I felt I could not practice to my full capability, to my full capacity, much less than what I would have desired, because I had my friends who were immediately, they were catapulted to their post graduation or to immediately take up some good jobs. But then that wasn't the case with me. And so there was that feeling of denial, in the early stages of my professional life. That what's going to happen to me. I'm my full potential is not being used, and how am I going to cope up with this? Because when you're a good student, you've never had arrears all your during your course, you've topped in certain subjects, and there is that ambition, you really want to move on professionally. But then that was something which I think was it was a scary part of my professional life, and I felt that will I be able to do something? Because it so happened that at that point of time my purpose became my family. So that was definitely a big challenge I faced at the initial stage of my profession, my career. And I think till now that's been my biggest challenge. And how did I overcome it? How did I get a sense of it? Well, during that period of time when my husband was in the army, and especially when he was posted in remote places like, I don't know whether many of you have heard of Khonsa, which is in Arunachal Pradesh, or Pegong, which is in Sikkim, and, and Jakarta, which is north of Dehradun. So there are these very exotic places where we were posted. And what happened is that wherever there was an opportunity, I just kept in touch. But at that time, my purpose was my family. So spent a lot of time with my children, invested time with my children. At the same time, I always never lost sight of my medical practices, kept, abreast with the latest what was going on in medicine. And I always wanted to be very active all the time. So even in situations and conditions where there were no opportunities, I invested in time, which was in I think parallel learning. I got into this thing of gardening, and I think that's why my love for bonsais. I still have a lot of bonsais at home. It was just it started over this, the seed started there, where it was a passion I developed. And things like that. So and so it kind of helped me grow completely as a personality in just not one aspect, but then it was like a multifaceted life that I had during this phase. I kept busy all the time. And what had happened was, I also, as I was growing, I developed a lot of self discovery about myself. Because sometimes what happens is, when you say that this is the right way, this is the path that you're supposed to be going, or you see your friends going in a particular path, and you or there's a peer pressure, or there's a family pressure that you're supposed to be going in this particular way of life, then there is this thing when you're not following that, or you're not situations don't let you do that. It is then, how do you deal with it? How do you make those situations your opportunities?
I think
So
that's pressure that most of us feel today. We kind of get digressed the
yes.
minute there's pressure of expectations from people around us, especially our loved ones. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. So what happened is, I developed this resilience that there's one space in your heart which you keep very, very pristine, very pristine. You say that no matter what, you're not going to let any negativity come inside that. You're just going to be hopeful and positive and move on. Because if at that time in your life you are focused on your purpose, as I said, my purpose was to invest on my children. My purpose was to be together as a family. So at that point of time, there's this area in your heart. You do not let any negatives even try to enter that space. It is your space. It is your space to defend. It is the space when you're in your weakest, you just go into it. You're with your maker, you're with God. And you know that there is that inner resilience which comes out at that point of time. So these are things which actually I inculcated very, very early in life. It was something which has held very strong right now. It has been my foundation to what I've today, tried to become and becoming. So it's something, Shikha, that I've converted all these things, situations in my life as opportunities. I've actually had a very, very doting husband, a very understanding husband who's always encouraged me all along, and he's realized that, he used to see, sometimes he used to see these frustrations. And I remember in Gangtok when he had to go to Nathula, that was his forward post. And he saw this incredible, I was sitting and just prescribing to emptiness, to empty patients, patients coming. And I was, these make believe patients, because I was really desperate that I had to keep in touch. And I remember him saying, no, I think this is a little too much. He took an appointment, went to the chief minister's office at Sikkim, and he said, I'm going to the forward post. I'm an infantry army officer. I'm going to be guarding the border. You have to
Wow.
give a job to my wife, and I had a 1.5-year-old child at home. But I joined SDNM hospital over there, and it was a struggle. That 1.5 years was definitely a struggle, but it was so much, when you go through this kind of suffering, this kind of struggle, it kind of gives you that inner resilience which holds good at any point of your time. So these are like little opportunities, these little things that have situations which I think today when I look back, I say that they are good learning steps. These are things which are not textbook knowledge, which life has taught you. So these are some things little that I have learned also how to respect others. It's very important to, without being judgmental, to be empathetic. To be respectful for what people are going through. It's very easy to be judgmental. It's very easy to write away people. It's very easy to say that what does he understand or she understand. But I've learned not to be that. And the practice of forgiveness is not only forgiveness for others, but it is primarily to forgive yourself. So that's something again that I've learned along the way, and not to have guilt at all. Because if you have anything which has not gone right, it is just up to you to make it all right, to make anything. There's no point carrying any kind of guilt. So these are some life lessons which I have learned, which I've actually overcome. And today I'm definitely in a very stronger space, and I feel very confident when I have to do anything, having been through those situations in life.
I think that's so inspiring. Every struggle only ends up making you way, way stronger. So, like you rightly said, resilience comes naturally to you, and you're able to take everything in your stride. And with time, you realize that family is your biggest strength. So, you see that more as one of your purposes. Unfortunately, I do hear and sense, people getting uncomfortable with the family obligations or responsibilities. So, I can just quickly remember this quick, analogy where we talk about a kite, and the kite won't fly till the time you have the rope tied to it. Most of the people feel it's stopping it, but actually that's the one that's holding on to it and allowing the kite to take that height. So that's the beauty of having family and support to back you all the time. And like you rightly said, you had a lot of support coming through from your husband. So even if there's one individual by your side, everything else you're able to take it with grace. I love the points that you made in with respect to hope, with respect to resilience, with respect to giving value to your family. Those are some wonderful aspects. I'm sure during this struggle and your journey, like you rightly said, you equipped yourself with quite a few things. Has there been something that has drastically changed about you as an individual? Is there any instance that has transformed you for good? I kind of see that as a butterfly. So if you forcefully take that out and you put if you put the caterpillar through the struggle is when it converts into a beautiful butterfly. So please let us know a little about that one instance or something that has transformed you.
So actually, there are a couple of incidences, Shikha. One particular which stands out is this was in Jamnagar. My daughter was born, and I didn't realize my full potential. So there was this a senior officer's wife called Mrs. Baljeet. Brigadier Baljeet was the station commander there, and he was. David was he was a brigade commander, sorry, not the station commander. He was a brigade commander. David was a brigade major work under him. So it so happened that there was this huge event that was to happen. It's a very big event. Nearly we had about 100 odd guests, and there were many officers' wives who were much senior to me by experience, by age, and she just kept observing me, and my baby was barely just a couple of months old, and so I was kind of relaxing, and as I said, I wasn't even sure about my full potential, and she just called me one day and she said, Renu, you're going to be the host of this huge event. And I couldn't believe it because this was an event which was really, really huge. We had some very senior officers' wives coming in. We had other station officers' ladies coming in. And there was a lot of events happening simultaneously. It was nearly for about a couple of hours. And I really never thought that I was up to it. But as I said, when someone challenges me or when there's something, I just say, okay, let's get out of the comfort zone and let's see worst come first, what's going to happen. And I took the challenge, and again, we conducted the evening, meticulously planned everything because it was a first for me. And Shikha, at the end of it, once the evening got over and I got the next day, when I was looking back at these events that had happened the previous day, I was actually surprised at my capabilities. And I was surprised that this caterpillar, how did she become a butterfly? What was this that made her this butterfly? How did she carry? And it was so well done that people were actually asking me whether I was a professional, a
Wow.
person who conducted events like this, and I had held it so beautifully. So that was
I have
something.
goosebumps right now, listening to that. Because, sometimes I feel people so underestimate their capabilities, and we shy away from taking risks, or reinventing ourselves or exploring ourselves. Even if we make mistakes, the time you do that and you push yourself, like you beautifully did, you will end up, opening up and turning into a beautiful butterfly. So I
Absolutely.
love that.
Absolutely. So that was one. Shikha, I must tell you another one which happened very recently. As you know, my passion is wellness, preventive healthcare. So I've been wanting to get a bigger, platform for this. So though I've been addressing corporates and colleges and various forums, but then I felt I needed a bigger audience because we were addressing wellness through 9 dimensions. We were, so I remember that I went up to my husband and I told him that I need something. I need a bigger platform. So he said, what do you want? I said, I think I need a conclave. I need a huge national conclave. So he immediately, he said, good, that's a good idea. But my dear, it just doesn't work that you want it and it'll happen. That's not the way it works out here. Please make a hardbound book, write down your ideas, write down what you want, meticulously plan each and everything, and write from your financials, write from how you're going to organize it, write from what kind of speakers do you want. And that kind of, it took me 2 years to get that book out because I also, along the way, learned a lot of things as to how to organize a conclave. And we had our first conclave in 2015, and we had some amazing speakers, and it was actually over 2 days, and by God's grace, we had a fourth conclave, fourth edition last year. And again, that was such a big learning step for me as a person because so many, you really do not realize, really don't, you do not tap your best potential. You do not become the best version of yourself unless you're pushed out of your comfort zone and you're challenged. And that
Totally,
was a huge stepping stone for me.
totally agree with that. Yeah, I've seen that in my own life, and therefore I can say that these times are the ones that train you and make you tougher. So it's
Absolutely.
always, yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm so happy to say that now at this point of time, the Radiant Wellness Conclave is one of the best conclaves, a national level conclave that we conduct at Chennai. So I'm really, really happy and proud to be, instrumental in. So yeah, that's something
We're
which
so,
I thought
we're
was.
so happy and proud to hear such an initiative going on, and with all that passion and love for well-being, I'm sure there's more to to do for each one of us. I'm also glad that awfully there's this conversation about happiness that's picked up, and it's also because of the crisis, the lockdown. People have started focusing on their well-being a little. So happiness is the most critical thing. It's the purpose of life, so to say. What is your sense of happiness as on date? How do you define it? How do you perceive it?
Well, Shikha, it's a lot of ways of, there are different, how I would like to put it is there are different perceptions of happiness. And the things that have worked for me in person is the kind of I think, personal instances which have happened to me, which I've realized that what are the situations which can make me happy. Definitely, when you have a courage to dream, and when you pursue that dream with passion, and you make it your purpose by educating yourself and preparing meticulously with dedication, with intelligent hard work, with that kind of commitment. And also you have to remember that when you go about doing something like this, the world just comes around helping you. You'll be amazed at the kind of help that comes from all sectors. So it is also very important to have realistic expectations, because you might have a plan, you might have a goal, and you might think that this is what is going to be your purpose in that at that point of time. But it has to be realistic. You have to know what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are the barriers which are going to prevent you. So unless you're not realistic and you're going to just keep hitting out, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to say that this is giving me my happiness, I'm giving it my best, but this is not happening. So you have to
Yeah.
realize what your purpose is, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and intelligent hard work, and give it your best. And then you'll have to also do an analytic process at that point of time, whether this is your purpose, this is what is meant for you, or you have to just change course. Because Oprah Winfrey so beautifully says that when you feel that something is failing in you, or you feel this is a failure, it's actually not a failure. It is just that you're at the wrong turn at that point of time. You just have to take a pause and say, okay, I have to reroute my life. I have to just take the right route. I have to go around this. I have to take a completely different direction. So that's something which is very, very important. And again, there's something which source of happiness is to self-love or have self-confidence, because this is something which, you're not born to be perfect. You're not born to be the girl that you see in the TV, in the advertisements. And suddenly when there's this beautiful mom who's got this amazing power job, 9 to 5, she comes home, she's still smiling, she's not yelling at her kids, and she's keeping and a beautiful home. And then you see that, and you're already falling short. You've got self-esteem, you've got a lower self. You see all this glamorous thing, and oh my God, I'm not measuring up to this. So you're feeling worse. And no matter how hard you're trying, you're not happy. So I don't think that's a good idea, first of all, to compare yourself, because wherever you can work on yourself, good. But then you're born beautiful, you're born precious, you're born different. You may be tall, you may be short, you may be dark, you may be fair. So what? That's what you are. So it's something that you have to be. So self-love, self-confident is very important. It's very okay not to be okay on certain days, because if you're a perfectionist and you want everything in a correct manner, correct order, that this is how my life has to be, then I think it's not worth it. You're going to be very unhappy, not for yourself, but for the people around you. So it's really okay not to be a perfectionist. It's really okay if you don't have life under control. It's really okay if you're feeling broken on a particular day. This is completely okay. And then always remember, there is a force much greater than you that is guiding you. And as I mentioned earlier, keep that space in your heart very pristine for you, pristine, clean, where you're not going to let negativity, you're not going to get negative emotions, you're not going to let anyone affect you. It could be anyone close to your family, it could be your any blood relative, anyone living with you. You are not going to let that come near you. It's just that space which you are going to guard it. And as Maya Angelou says, no negative, no, nobody's going to even come near that. That is your corner, and you're going to, whenever you're feeling a little bit of low esteem or low doubt, or you're not feeling good, you just have to enter that little pristine corner of your heart and be there. It could be in the form of meditation, it could be your connection with God, it could be just, but then keep that pristine corner just for yourself. And when you have choices, remember that life will throw out a lot of choices in front of you. You cannot change those situations, but it's in your capability to make the right choices. So listen to your inner voice, develop that inner resilience to listen to your inner voice, because at the end of it, you know best. You know when you have to put your oxygen mask in order to help others. So do it for yourself first before you plan to reach out and help. And it is very, very important to be the master of your mind. So these are some little tools which help me to pursue
It's
happiness.
so important, the oxygen mask example that you just shared, because I do feel a lot of us are trying to do so much for the world around us, for our professional life, for our family members. But if as a woman, you're not able to take care of yourself and your inner well-being and your self-talk and self-compassion, there's very little energy that you can ooze. So if you're happy, you're going to exude happiness and make, the entire room brighter and chirpier. So it makes a hell lot of a difference. And the point that you mentioned about perfection, I love that. I think most of us are obsessed and we want to do everything 100%. So my mantra on that is that we must look at 8 as the new 10. There was this time when our elders used to do a lot of chores, and between my mother-in-law and I, we keep talking about it. I said things are different now. So I think the yardstick must change. 8 is the new 10, and we need to be a little more gentle and kind to ourselves, and relax and take breathers, or give ourselves our due breaks where
Yeah,
required, or pursue our own passion and heart.
yeah,
I see a lot of women, dropping their hobbies or not being able to do it, saying, I don't have time. So you're
right.
quite right. It's wonderful to, just be able to focus and follow your heart. That's beautiful. It's unfortunate, Dr. Renuka, despite having so many, I, I would say women are blessed, they're blessed with a lot of light inside. It's unfortunate that we have very few women leaders. And I honestly feel that there is something that holds them back. What are those aspects that you think are our blocks, and how we can overcome it, according to you?
So, Shikha, women make great leaders. Absolutely bang on. You couldn't be more right. But your second part of your question, it's very complicated. There's been such a push today to gender equality, which is a great thing. And in some ways,
Yeah,
I think women are up to it. Maybe not for failure, but when this happens, they're up to it. But there is also not only this fear of failure, but there is a lot of stress on them. I think
yeah,
the way we look at gender roles in workplace has really changed, because today we have a lot of women leaders who are they are right in the front. They are the board leaders. I mean, they head boards. They are putting in long hours of time, and that's great. But women are the ones still dealing with pregnancy. They're still dealing with childbirth, and traditionally they are the caretakers of the home. I'm not
yeah,
saying that men don't deal with it, but I think it puts a lot on a women's plate. At the end of the
yeah,
day, it's just not possible to do everything, to be, to kind of great corporate, do everything, and then, come home and then do all these things. So you're actually missing that fine print between the lines. Because at
yeah,
some point of time, when you're trying to do everything to perfection, something is going to give, something is going to is going to break. So it's very, very important to that how you will have to figure out to get the right tools and get all the help that that woman needs to help her to achieve what she's doing. So if it is having a child at home, does she manage childcare at home? If it is putting in long hours, is there a conversation she's having with her husband to kind of pull in? Is it expected that she comes home and makes the food? She's a primary care taker of the house. So is there going to be enough tools to help her to, because as I said, if she's going to do everything, and today we are talking of gender equality, we are talking of woman power, and we're talking, but then please remember, don't miss out that fine print between the lines. We have to have our tools to enable us to be that, and that requires a
and
lot of
in
support.
Sorry, in the words of Indra Nui, she says, coping mechanism is very important. So irrespective of which sphere a woman operates, she would always need this, coping mechanism. Who's backing her? What are the tools that she's utilizing? So that's a very good point that you're making. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so it is very important that we want our daughters out there, we want our wives out there, we want our sisters out there, we want our close friends out there. But as I said, there's a lot on her plate, and she has to be given those tools, and yeah, so that's a way forward, because unless that happens, it's going to be very, very difficult. At some point of time, there is going to be a little break. So that's something which I think, and even women among ourselves have to be very supportive, because I know that when at times when you're feeling the load, it's good to have one friend of yours, whom you can call no matter what date, night, whatever. You can just call that friend, and you know that she has your back. She knows that what she's going to tell you is going to give you that comfort. So just talking with her and just feeling good about it after a very busy and hectic day, I think that everyone should aspire to have that 1 2 a.m. friend. It could just be that one person, but it's important to kind of also de-stress, to just release that steam sometimes. Of course, your spouse, your children, everyone are there. At times, if she just needs something beyond that, a little, being a little girl, or being a little woman, or being a little bit of herself, that she'll build up, and that, that it's okay to be that. So it's very important. Everyone should have a 2 a.m. friend.
I so love that. I've always done that with my siblings, and I believe that a little bit of madness and weirdness is so important in life. There's a saying that we grow up, but we actually just grow up to show it to the others. Inside, we still remain a child. You know, so that's something that you should always unleash and be weird, act funny, make mistakes. Stay curious. All these elements kind of add up in your life and allow you those breathers and breaks that we all rightly deserve.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely,
so
Shikha.
so all throughout, it's wonderful to hear from you in terms of all the aspects and the multifaceted struggles and success stories that you've created. I'm sure there's something that you would have learned as a lesson for yourself, one of the biggest learnings that you treasure dearly today. If you can share that with us.
Well, Shikha, my biggest learning is to, first of all, as I said, I believe in loving myself. I'm not narcissist. I'm definitely not that. I'm trying to create a very healthy self-esteem within me. So it's something which is very, so as I say that unless you put that oxygen mask, you cannot help anybody else. It's very important to have your goal, to dream, to dare to dream. To please, when you're sleeping, just keep dreaming. And when you dream, you go out there to pursue it, to go out there, no matter what, even if you have to slog, if you have to make sacrifices, just go there to find out your purpose. Whatever is your purpose. Now, your purpose need not be, at least for me, when I say that, my purpose had been different in different stages of my life. Maybe at the beginning of my family life, my purpose was my family. So see what
Yeah.
your family, your purpose is, and then you make that your profession for that point of time. Also, my take is like how Maya Angelou says, do the best you can until you know better, and when you know better, you do better. So that's something which I've always followed. And listen to your heart. You just have to know that this is what you have to do. This is how you have to give it your best, your passion. Be an inspirator. And it's nice when people actually come write to you or talk to you and tell them that, you remember you told me this sometime, some many years back, and it did wonders. I got a lovely note even very recently when someone reached out and said, Dr. Renuka, you told this to me nearly about 7 years back, and today, thanks to that, these little things which you don't even remember when this happened, it is very inspiring, it's very motivating, and it's very nice. Or my little daughter, she suddenly comes, puts her hand around me, and she says, Mama, I wish I can be a person like you when I grow up. I mean, like, it's so sweet, but it's such so inspiring. I think this just keeps me going. So it's just that how with passion,
That is
with
the beautiful thing
complete.
that a mother would want to hear, I guess. So one of the dialogues I can recall from Jab We Met, मैं अपनी खुद की favorite हूँ. So that you must do as a practice.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's something, and then very, very, very important is keep that little pristine corner for yourself. That is some place that you must go whenever. So you don't need to. It's like a ECG graph, Shikha. ECG, you know that the waves are always going up and down. The moment there's no activity, what happens? It's just a flat line, and then you flat line. You're gone. So you have to have days when you're in a good mood, you're in a bad mood, and that's life. But
Yeah.
accept every imperfections, every things need not be as per schedule, or do I just have fun, but do everything with passion. Just go there, and I'm sure that once you're out of your comfort zone, once you challenge yourself, once you refuse to buck down, even if you're hit with failure, you get up again, and you again face it, and you learn from it, and you do not try to make the same mistakes. So I think once you do all this, and you plan your life meticulously with intelligent hard work, I think you're good to go.
Awesome. Those are some amazing points that you've shared, Dr. Renuka. So I'd like you to also share some, tips and advice for our women in this current scenario. There's too much on their plate, like you rightly said. So there are several things that they're managing: work from home, learning from home with their children being at home. There's something I've coined that's called the HAHA, which is ha ha, and you also are the bi and the cook all by yourself. So personal care goes out the window. Somewhere the self-esteem starts to get affected. The work-life balance. There's too much struggle, emotional, mental, physical. So what is your advice to all our women viewers today?
So, Shikha, one advice I would like to say is, in case you're married and in case you've got children, invest time on your children, because I've been doing a lot of courses online from the Harvard Medical School, and the second big pandemic that's going to hit us is mental depression. One has to be very mindful of it. One has to recognize what are the symptoms and signs, because lockdown is an unfortunate disruption which has happened, which has forced us to be indoors, and a lot
Yeah.
of things are changing inside. You're stuck inside. You're now working from home. You've got deadlines to meet, and there's this child who is there, who's again work. The child is locked up. He's not able to go out and play with his friends. He's not able to go and meet his peers. He's not going to go and meeting his teachers, and he's all the time now into online education, and his whole thing is in front of a TV or his iPad or his cell phone. I mean, that's his life, and what's going to be the repercussions in the time will it's only going to say. But my very strong advice is, please invest, because this child who, as it is lonely, he or she does not have the pleasure to go out and meet his friends or have any outdoor games. And then here is a mother who's all the time, or a father's all the time busy at work, meeting deadlines, in the phone, in front of a system, looking harassed, looking puzzled. He's going to get even more lonely. So invest on your child. Make sure that you're going to take out that time, maybe 2 hours or whatever, and spend time with the child in board games, or do this infotainment that I was talking to you earlier, or let him play something. Keep the child active so that he knows. Also, don't be a perfectionist in front of the child. Sometimes you had a very, very busy day and you got to meet deadlines, and your child is trying to ask you something, and you're very impatient with the child, and you're saying, no, 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 just let me be, come on, just leave me alone, you don't know, blah, blah, blah. And having a bad day, and suddenly then the child is sulking or the child is sad, and then you realize that, oh my god, you're not done the right thing. So I think you have to go and talk to the child and say, I'm sorry baby, I'm sorry, mama's had a bad day, I've had this problem, and I had to meet this deadline, I didn't mean to be rude to you. So what happened, two things are happening here. One is that your child is realizing that mama also makes mistake, papa also makes mistakes. So it is not necessary that you should be always leading a very correct life, a very perfect life. Mama also can have a bad day. So these are some life's instructions actually you're leaving behind with your little one. Second, the another advice that I would like to give people who are this thing is in this lockdown condition is, please take care of your health, because it's going to be some time before the vaccine is going to come. And now I speak as a medical doctor. Apart from your face mask when you're going out, or your social distancing, or your washing, sanitizing your hand, be very careful of also in building not only inner physical resilience but mental resilience too. Physical resilience is, of course, having your immune rich diet. I'm sure most of you must be knowing about it, about having your vitamin C's and your zincs and your magnesium and all that. But mental resilience is something you have to work towards. Do not let depression, because this is honestly, Shikha, this is a study which has come out saying depression is going to be the second pandemic, and India unfortunately tops in depression. Our leading cause of mortality today is suicide. India tops among all the countries. India tops in depression. We get 235,000 of suicide cases every year. The major depression happens to people under the age of 44, between 15 to 29 years old. And you have to be with 30 to 40 youth are committing suicide for every 100,000 population of the young population. So you have to be very, very mindful of this disease. And this is very preventable. There's a window where you feel suicidal. There's a window you feel depressed. And it is a condition where it is preventable. And you have to not only listen to that person who's depressed, because 80% of that person, the verbal cues are that the person is talking about his depression, the person is talking of how bad he's feeling. It's just that you don't have time to listen, or you're just shushing himself, saying, oh, just look, you're in a better space right now, or how can you say like this, today you got everything, look at the guy in the street, look at this person, look at that person. So you're comparing. So I think that's something you should not be doing. You should be empathetic. You should be not be judgmental. So this is something which I would like to. And unfortunately also
to hear this and see so many cases of loneliness or suicidal tendencies, and you're quite right. Problem is prevailing across age groups. It's not something which is specific to only youngsters or teenagers. Even elders and 40 plus, mid-career crisis is happening. So, and thanks to the economic crisis, everything is going tipsy-turvy inside a human brain. So it's very, very important that people start catching on to cues and being there for each other, and dispensing judgment, like you rightly said. I think I want to lighten the environment a little by getting into a quick rapid fire with you. Are you ready for that?
Oh my God, Shikha, it better be easy. Okay. Okay.
Okay, what's the craziest thing you've ever done, Dr. Renuka?
Craziest thing is, I think it was a holiday. We had gone with the family to Goa, and 2 kilometers we went for on this. We went in the sea, and we were in the boat. And 2 kilometers, I saw the shoreline, and I just had my life jacket on. I said, "I'm going to swim to the shore." And before my family even realized what had happened, I jumped aboard and I started swimming towards the shore. It was crazy, but I made it, and my kids followed suit. So it was. I think that was the craziest moment of my
You're
life.
strong and you're a fighter, that's evident. So, okay, what is that one trait that you love the most?
Sorry, what is that?
A trait that you value the most?
A trait that I value would be definitely honesty.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. And one thing that has changed drastically about you over the years?
Breaking the glass ceiling.
Okay, okay. And how do you de-stress yourself? What do you do for it?
I I karaoke. I sing
Okay.
karaoke.
So I don't have the luxury of time, otherwise I would have asked you to sing. Your greatest strength.
My husband.
Wow. Love means?
Love means trust.
Wow. And a favorite dialogue? A movie dialogue
Ah,
or an anecdote or a
okay.
saying?
Okay.
Anything.
I love Shah Rukh Khan. I've loved him, I think, all my life. That's what my husband keeps teasing me. He says that, I am your real life hero, but he's always been your real life hero, And I love that dialogue from Bazigar. कभी कभी कुछ नहीं कभी कभी कुछ जीतने के लिए कुछ हारना पड़ता है और जो हार के जीतता है उसे
Bazigar
बाजीगर
कहते
कहते हैं. Yeah.
हैं. So you are a true Bazigar in that context. And last but not the least, what's your mantra for life, Dr. Renuka? Before we open the floor for question answers from our viewers, if you can share
Well,
one mantra.
I share that with what Steve Jobs has said: live each life as if it was your last.
Wow. Beautiful. So we have some questions I think that have already come in, and the floor is now open. So everybody can ask their questions from Dr. Renuka. Um, I have a couple of them, so I'll start with that. Doctor, how do we deal with the fact that our personal life activities like marriage, church functions will be postponed to possibly another 2 years now? How do we deal with that kind of anxiety, at an individual level? It's a question from Sarah George.
Sarah, that's a very interesting question because today that's another cause of depression. We all are social animals. We love our weddings, we love our get togethers, we love our coffee parties, we love hanging around with friends. So, this is something which is, one of the very major causes of depression, that you are not allowed to socially interact. And there's a lot of difference when you're Zooming with your friends and when you're actually physically hugging them, or when you're, with them and stuff like that. So, and this is going to be for a long run. It's a long time, until we have the vaccines and until we have everything. It's not something that we're going to see very shortly. So I think it is just a new normal that one has to adapt. One has to realize that you don't have a choice right now. And I think the thing is just be resigned, accept the fact that this is what it is. This it's a situation where you cannot do anything about. Resign to this new disruption, and based on that, create your around this new normal, create your space of happiness. Find what are your goals, what is your purpose for that point of time, and I'm sure you're going to figure out that how you're going to pursue this.
Yeah. Thank you so much. There's one more question from Prasun Kumar Roth. How to be self-motivated in these trying times where nothing seems to be going in our way?
Prasan, again, this is a question that a lot of people face. How do you self-motivate yourself? Because at this time when things seem so, disruptive, everything around ourselves, whether there's economy instability, whether there is, there doesn't seem to be any hope. The job markets are getting down, and people are, closing down, or they're minimizing their businesses, or you're losing a loved one, and there's this fear of getting infected yourself. And so at this point of time, you have to build on your inner resilience. This is very important. This is a test of time. Always remember that this is a very temporary phase, and which will pass. It's just taking time. And I'm going to give yourself maybe a year. But in this 1 year, this is an opportunity for you to develop some, to challenge yourself, to get out of your level, and to not succumb to any kind of negativity, because that's when you're going to be you're going to overcome this. Find out what is it, how do you get your inner resilience over here, because you know best for yourself that what, suppose this is giving you sleepless nights, or suppose this is giving you too much of anxiety. So what you need to do is that, I'll give you a very typical example. If you can figure out how to get that enough rest, say 6 to 7 hours of sleep, you would get up next day morning fresh, and you might say, okay, let me rewrite my resume. I might just be able to get a better opportunity. Or, that's what I'm saying. Just tap into that inner resilience. You know what you're good at. You know what you have to just figure out what is that works for you, and build on it. Do not let any negativity come near you. Get into that pristine space I've been talking to you about, and don't let any external factor demotivate you. Build on your right about what your aspirations is, what are your goals, how do you want to figure this out, and you'll be surprised when you start moving in that direction, how the world comes around to help you. You just have to take that first step.
It's a very nice point you said. When you can't go outside, go inside. And that's the rule right now for all of us, I guess. We need to start building ourselves, honing ourselves, equipping ourselves with more and more tools as much as is possible. So I'm going to take a quick 1 or 2 more questions and close for today. How to deal with negative thoughts that comes to our mind when there's a failure? Because you tend to go down. This is a question from Shikha Azad. Dr. Renuka, if you can address that, please.
Vanshika, I must confess in something. All of us have very bad days, All of us have very bad moments. All of us go through very bad situations in life. I can talk about this very boldly, because in my personal life and in my professional life, I've been through situations where I've not been able to practice my profession. And you know how disheartening it can be for a person who is a topper, or who's been so good in the professional work that she's been doing. But you have to kind of overcome it. You have to deal with it. You have to face it, and then you have to make that situation, you have to convert it into your opportunity. So it is a difficult thing. It is difficult how you're going to, but your perception of failure need not be a perception of failure for anybody else. That's what you're thinking about it. But I think if you just have to, tap into your inner resource, you just have to sit and figure out that, okay, I've tried this, I'm not doing well in this. Maybe I have to just change course and reroute my path and see whether not this, but maybe let me try something else. Or maybe again, try something else. It's okay if you fail for 4 times, 5 times, even 10 times. That's okay. But when I talk of inner resilience, it is in spite of all these failures, your ability to still carry on, to still say, no, I'm not going to fail. I'm going to give it one more shot. I'm going to give it my best. Okay, so what? I'm going to do it again. I am going to do it. That's your resilience. That's your victory. And trust me, Present, it's going to work. So just don't give up. Don't give in. Don't feel despondent. Don't think that this is a failure. This is not a failure. This is just a learning phase in your life. Because through this tool, you're going to go there and achieve a lot. So remember on this, take lessons from this, your perspective of failure, but keep this as your foundation, as your tools, as your guiding force to move on.
So I think it has kind of addressed our next question of feeling stuck in life. So we're going to close for today for sure. And Dr. Renuka, it was such an inspiration to talk to you today. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And I hope our viewers are going to benefit from everything that we've shared with them today. And I would like to share a quick anecdote, of salt versus rice, which is something I came across, and it was truly inspiring. When you make rice, you don't actually add 3 bowls of salt to it. All you need is that little pinch of salt, which adds the flavor and makes it tasteful. So it's, each one of us are so special and unique in our own way. And there is no reason that you should think that you're insignificant. You play a very significant part, and each individual is so important and adds that beauty and flavor to the world around us. So that's our
Absolutely,
humble
absolutely.
request that each one of us should feel like that and feel important. And do catch us live in our next session on Thursday at the same time between 6 to 6:45. It was lovely and beautiful talking to you. And thank you to all our viewers for giving us the time today.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Shikha. It's been, and I must tell you, you've been a great moderator, and I've enjoyed being on this show. You've been an amazing moderator, and thank you for having me. And Shikha, just to build on what you had last ended with, it is just remember, guys, that today you come to this world and just imagine the permutation and commutations which have happened to create you. There have been millions of sperms out there. There have been a couple of eggs, and the zygote which got produced by that one sperm and one egg which created you. I think that itself says that you are so precious, that you were born with a purpose. So find your calling, find your purpose, and I'm sure that you're going to be very happy in life. Thank you,
And
Shikha.
love yourself. And love yourself, like you said. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Please have a great day. We'll see you again next Thursday. Bye.